Hey everyone, happy Wellness Wednesday. I am coming to you live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and it is a beautiful day, finally. I feel like the weather is changing every week. Today I wanted to hop on and I wanted to share some Wellness Wednesday tips. As a lot of you know, I am a health and wellness coach and I love to help people get started with the best superfood nutrition so that they can feel their best. But a lot of times when I'm coaching people, different emotional problems come up that are associated with food. And I decided that on Wellness Wednesdays, I want to try and jump on and share with you guys just some thoughts that I have and some ways to overcome these issues that we are facing when we embrace a new healthy lifestyle. I recently had a conversation with a new cleanser, and this person is a friend of mine and said to me, Regina, I feel amazing. I'm a few days into the program. I have so much energy. Things are awesome, but I am feeling like I'm missing certain foods that I was eating. She's like, I know that probably sounds crazy, but I was feeling like I had an emotional attachment to foods that I would eat when I'm stressed or when I'm sad or when I'm happy. And I said to her, it's not a strange thing. I have people tell me all the time that they love the program and they feel amazing, but that they have this emotional attachment to foods that they used to eat. And what can they do to combat that? You're not alone in that, right? We all have emotional attachments to foods and to different things in our lives. And the attachment to food is such a strong one. So you can embrace incredible superfood nutrition. You can put the best food, the best ingredients in your body, and you can fuel your body in an incredible way. But if you have an emotional attachment or an emotional block that's holding you back, it is very hard to overcome that. Even when you have the best nutrition, it's hard to change your life. So today I want to talk to you about getting to the cause that led to the effect of you emotionally eating. So the first thing I want to talk about is, why do we have emotional attachments to food? Very simply, food is fuel. Food is what we eat to fuel our body, to get through our day, to live and to survive as human beings. And personally, I don't believe in ever calling a food good or a food bad. There are foods that are more nutritionally dense than others. For example, I love the example of a donut and a bowl of oatmeal with coconut oil. At the heart of those two things are the macronutrients, fat and carbohydrates. But what is different about those two things are the micronutrients. So that's what makes, the bowl of oatmeal a healthier choice, only because it has those nutrients, those vitamins that maybe the donut doesn't have. But that doesn't mean that the donut is a bad thing or that you should never have one. It just means that your life should be fueled with nutrient-dense food instead. And so we start thinking of good versus bad foods. Foods that we consider bad, we form an emotional attachment to those foods based on our experiences. So you're not born with a genetic makeup that every time you feel anxious or feel stressed, you drink a bottle of wine and order a pizza. You do that because you have formed an emotional, neurological response to stress. And what do you do when you feel stressed? You've formed a habit that makes you pick up the pizza and eat it, pick up the bottle of wine and drink it. And it's because at some point in your life, you felt that way. You felt sad, stressed, happy, even positive emotions. And you fueled those emotions with food or with alcohol or with whatever it is that is what you fuel your emotions with. So think back to your childhood, right? So I'll use myself as an example. I'm from a big fat Italian family, and food is the forefront and the center of everything we do. Whether it's a family dinner, whether it's a holiday, whether it's anything in my life, food has always been a part of it. I got a great grade in school, I would be taken out and treated with ice cream. I had a really sad or hard day. My mom has always been such a great support for me, and she'd say, let me take you out to dinner. So My whole life, whenever I have been feeling anything, happy, sad, lonely, frustrated, my caretakers provided me with food to help me feel better or to reward me. And that's a lot of us. A lot of us have spent our childhoods, being fueled and rewarded and given food as a way to cope or as a reward. So I want you to think for a second. I want you to think about how to change that attachment, right? Like, I can give you the best nutrition, I can hook you up, I can coach you, I can be there for you. But if you don't get to the heart of why you have that emotional attachment to food, you're going to be in this yo-yo. You're going to be in this yo-yo diet where you're going to find great nutrition, you're going to meal prep, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then you're going to feel those feelings and you're going to go back down into the shame spiral. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how do you change that habit. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to get real with yourself. And this is the hardest part, right? Like, looking inside of ourselves, that is the hardest part. Sit down in the silence of your heart with a journal and think about, when I feel X, I do Y. For example, when I feel sad, I eat ice cream. Or when I feel lonely, I eat pizza. Whatever it is, write it down, identify it, and be truly honest with yourself about what that reaction is, what you're feeling, and how you react to it. And write it down. Write down how you're feeling and what you're doing in response to that feeling. Then I want you to think about your childhood. I want you to think about when in your childhood that emotional, that physical response to your emotions happened. So I want you to think back, when you fell down, who was your caretaker, and were they giving you ice cream and telling you life was going to be okay? Were you being annoying as a kid and somebody was like, just take a lollipop and, go on your way, let me be? Really think back to your childhood. And I know for some of us, it's hard to think back to the bad things in your childhood, but it's crucial. If you want to change this habit, if you want to get off the roller coaster, the up and down of dieting, yo-yo dieting, you have to identify the cause that has led to the effect of you stressed and anxious eating. Then what you need to do is this. After you've identified the source, you've identified, where in my life did this come from? Why am I doing this? You then have to take action. And when do you take action? In times like this, you take action when it's the hard time. So when you're feeling that stress, it's a Friday, you had a terrible week at home, all you want to do is pick up your cell phone, open your Grubhub, and order a pizza and Instacart a bottle of wine. And that's when you have to think back to that journal. That's why I say to write it down. Look back to that journal and see, why do I do this? And that's when you have to change. So the first step in change is identifying the problem, which you've done. You've written it down. The next thing is changing the way that you talk and that you think about this. So, for example, if you're somebody that says to me, I've had people I coach who say, Regina, I always stress eat. I always eat when I'm sad. The fact that you're saying, I always do this, means you are just perpetuating the problem. You're making the problem happen over and over again, because you need to change it in your mind. So in that notebook where you wrote down, stress makes me eat ice cream, and you figured out where in your childhood or where in your life that reaction started, you're going to start to write down, I am not stressed and I am not a stress eater. You are going to change the language that you use. You're going to change it in your mind. You're going to think, when you start to feel anxious and you start to feel stressed and you're like, I want to order a pizza, or I can't live this healthy lifestyle, I need to cheat. You're going to stop and you're going to say to yourself, I am strong. I'm not a stress eater, and I am stronger than this piece of pizza, or whatever it is that is your vice. So those steps will change the way that you respond to that emotion. We respond in certain ways because we have been programmed to, because we have a habit of doing something. And the way that you change that habit is in your mind. It's in the words that you speak. It's in the thoughts that you think. And that, my friends, is how you start to change the yo-yo diet cycle. It takes time. It takes being honest with yourself. It takes loving yourself and affirming yourself and saying, I am not this person anymore. I am not a stress eater or whatever your emotional vice is. And that is how you change. And it's those little steps that I laid out for you that will really make a huge impact in your life. The other thing, and I'll close on this, is our language is so important. The way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we think about ourselves, and the way that we talk about the food that we consume is crucial. So that's why I said to you guys, I don't like to say that there's good and bad food. There's food that's more nutritiously dense. Because when we refer to certain types of food as bad, it makes it so that when we consume them, we feel guilty about it. We feel wrong. For example, most people in America, or at least in my childhood growing up, order pizza on Fridays. And through my childhood, I was always very weight conscious. I was always very diet conscious. And my whole childhood, I always thought, oh, pizza is a bad food. Pizza's fattening. It's bad for you. But then every Friday, I would eat that thing that I thought was so bad. Do you see how that, when you're thinking something is so bad, but you consume it every week, it messes with your mind. So if you like to have a piece of pizza on Friday, I love pizza. I think that's why that was my example all through this live video. If that's something that you like to have a piece of pizza, have 2 pieces of pizza. It's a treat and you should enjoy it. It's not the most nutritiously dense thing you could eat, but food is fuel, so get a good workout in on Saturday morning after you have your pizza. But stop referring to food as bad. And also, stop being negative to yourself. If you want to change your habits, it starts in your brain. It starts with the words that you say, the thoughts that you think, and the energy that you put out there. So I hope this was helpful. If this was helpful, drop me a comment. Let me know that you identify with this, that this helped you in some way, that, that it helped one person, and it'll make me happy that I shared with you, because this is something that's on my heart and mind all the time as I'm coaching and working with people. And if you know someone that could benefit from this, share it with them. I'd love to help anyone and everyone who is suffering from anxious or emotional eating. So anyway, happy Wellness Wednesday, guys. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week. Bye.